Hello, ladies, and welcome to Her Business Coffee Talk. If you're ready to scale your business globally, but English might be holding you back, you're in the right place. My name is Nina, and I will be your host today, and I'm so excited to introduce my guest, Catherine Biroy. Catherine, welcome to Coffee Talk.
Thanks so much, Nina. It's a pleasure being here with you.
Thank you for joining us. So, when I was reading your application and knowing you personally, oh my God, there are some things to mention. So, what I chose: best-selling author, public speaker, business coach. So, tell us a bit more about you and what your business is all about.
Thanks so much, Nina. Actually, I was programmer for 15 years, but back in 2017, I believe, I published a book which became a bestseller and completely changed everything. The very important thing, book was in English and it was published in USA. So my social media expanded and people just started reaching out to me and I started building my own business. Today, I work with clients from 30 countries. I'm a business coach most of the time, and practically, I'm really enjoying what I do, helping coaches, consultants, entrepreneurs to build their businesses online.
Wow, what an intro.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I don't know, should we start with the book first or maybe about the business a little bit or maybe leaving corporation and IT world? Let's start with that. What made you leave that safety, security? How did it go for you?
Well, that's a very interesting story, actually. Um, None of this was actually planned. But I kind of found my purpose because back then I went through almost 40 personal growth programs. And I understood that I'm actually enough and I should give myself a chance to start something on my own. So simply one day, just one day, I decided I will go to my director's office and I will just quit after 15 years. So everyone were in shock, right? But I wasn't. I was very ready to step into entrepreneurship and I never regret one single day that I made that very crucial step. So I started my business first in Serbia and then in USA and now everything is history. I'm running my business on my own for 5 years. And prior to that, I was actually having a side hustle uh, while I was in corporation. So the crucial moment, honestly, was when I was able to cover all my bank loans and credits, which were above six figures. So that was the moment when I said, okay, girl, you made something and you can go now on your own.
I love it. And now, when you mentioned running your own business, like big figures and all of that, like I imagine high ticket clients.
Mhm.
So, how do you build trust with high profile clients? And if you have some advice, how to get there, how to start that journey, open communication, and at the end, sell your service?
Well, honestly, everything starts with personal brand. And I was working very hard to build first my own credibility with Goldman Sachs, with Forbes, with brands which are very high caliber. And then when you build your brand in alignment with high caliber brand, then that's something which is actually expected. So I have a different layers of my business, so it's practically available to everyone, depending if they want to learn on their own or they want to work with me. If they want to work with me, then we have a conversation, talk to see if I can actually really help them. And to be honest, in an English spoken market, it's actually very simple. You just say the price and they just say yes or no. It's pretty much more simple than we can actually imagine.
So maybe that could be advice for everybody who can. Just choose your next market, start selling in English, and things will get easier.
Eventually, yes. So first, I would say visibility plays also a very high role in this, not only on social media but with media,
You
and
mentioned
and
PR
actually
too.
aligning our own brand with high caliber brand, if I may say so. And then practically, it's the same if you are selling something for $5 or 5,000 or
Mhm.
50,000, never mind. Uh, just the type of a client is different. And from my own experience, it's much simpler to work with people who are ready to invest in themselves than with people who are not ready to invest in themselves. So we need to know our target market pretty well, and then practically to know what to offer to specific target markets.
I totally agree. And yeah, definitely what you mentioned, personal brand, ideal client, target market, like these are some things that are like the base of business, and we should definitely get to know it better, and like do it all the time. And you mentioned a lot of PR, so it sounds pretty difficult, those names that you mentioned. Do you have maybe some advice how to start? For example, if I want to um, start contacting some media, or maybe, I don't know, podcasts or newspaper, whatever, like what should I do?
It's actually not so complicated at all. They are selling us the idea that it's complicated. I
Uh-huh.
of course went to a PR school from one New York agency and learned how to pitch myself and to which media. But if we're talking about American market, there are so many media which we actually don't know about, and people are like very focused on these channels. It doesn't have to be anything big for the beginning. uh, I would say first we need to know how to create our media bio very precisely, and there is one on my website, so everyone can use it as a template, because they want to see specifics, really, really specifics. And for example, don't make the same mistake I did, because of course, from that program, we got connections from media podcasts, and I actually sent an email automatically to like so many of them, and I was booked in 1 month for 21 podcasts, and it was enormously hard to follow up to all of that. So we should take things easily. For example, go to Apple Podcasts and see which podcasts are listed in the first 100 podcasts in our niche, and then start pitching ourselves from bottom up, because they all know each other. We all know each other. And when it starts rolling, it's much easier to come to, the podcast, which gives us much more visibility. And the other thing, I call it the A-list method. Now I'm going to spill some tea, right? We all know industry leaders, right? And they all have their PR teams. And they all did their work and market investigation and all that, research, whatever, however we call that. So why would we invent hot water when we can simply use the trail that they already have created, right? So we can simply list 10 list industry leaders, and research them a little bit on Google, see which podcast they were on, which media they were on, and then create a B list connection. Like B lists are super connectors. Those are people who can connect us with an A list and network with them. This is pretty much effective when we realize that there is just maximum 3 people, like from us to, I don't know, Oprah or whoever. It's really not so difficult when we actually, put it all on paper and research a little bit and then see the map and see, wait a minute, they all know each other, you know?
Yeah.
But to be honest, my journey started because I sent an email to Ariana Huffington when I published my book. Back then, I didn't know who Ariana Huffington was, honestly. I got an email from a colleague, and he said, this is great. You should just send her an email and see if you can get on Huffington Post. And I did that. And she replied, she said, yes, of course, I will connect you with my marketing director. And she did. And I ended up on Huffington Post. So when you're featured in such a huge media outlet, then everyone else sees you and then they start inviting you, right? So these are a few nuggets which might be very helpful.
I love it. I'm gonna do everything. I have to listen to this episode once again when we are finished because I'm thinking about my PR journey. I think the time has come. And yeah, as you said, like we are all afraid of that, but what will actually happen? You can just try and then try so many times. And once it has to, like something has to happen, you will meet someone and you never know where it will lead you.
Exactly. Like I was rejected 246 times when I wanted to publish my book. Just one publisher said yes, and we became a bestseller. So come on, it's just a game, nothing else.
I love that story. Maybe now, when we are mentioning the book, you can tell us more about the book itself, the story behind, and like what made you actually write that.
So, as I mentioned, I was working as a programmer. And before that, for example, I was in Petnica Science Center for 4 years. So I was pretty much a scientific person, right? Mathematical, logical mind, and things like that. But I was always drawn to psychology, to emotional intelligence, because I strongly believe if our mindset is not in alignment with what we want to achieve, nothing is going to happen as we actually desire. So I started my own research after healing I had back in 2008 when I was very ill, researching for some kind of alternative methods for healing. And I was writing down everything that was coming up to my mind. I wasn't even able to write it down, Nina, because like I was a programmer, so I could create an algorithms, right? So part of my book is actually formulas and algorithms for personal growth, which was very funny actually to create. Um, and then all of the sudden, I didn't know what to do with it. Like, how am I going to publish this now? And it wasn't so usual to self-publish a book. First, I needed an editor and I needed help with all of that. When I met Patrick online, who became my editor, he asked for $4,000 at a time to edit my book. And of course, I couldn't afford that back then. My blog first was in Serbian, there was no traction. Then I translated to English, then I got a lot of traction. And then he agreed to read the book and he saw the value because the book is actually a transformational journey from this point to the point where we actually want to be through emotional intelligence and our own capabilities. And he said, this is very interesting for your listeners. We will work together, but every chapter we create, you can't make the same mistakes in English in the next chapter, which I will teach you. So I need to be so focused to learn every single thing he corrected in the previous chapter so I don't make a mistake in another. Otherwise, we will not continue working together. And it lasted for 6 months. We did that. And then I faced, as I mentioned, 246 rejections from USA and UK publishing houses and agents because I was completely unknown. One publisher said yes, and here we are.
Mhm. What I say, magic.
Yeah.
Your magic happened. And Catherine or Ivana, I love your magic. And somehow, even now, when you're talking about these, like you have been rejected many times, and for a writer, it's not that easy. Then you start thinking, overthinking. Is it even good? Does it even mean anything to anyone? Who will read this? So, how did you get over that? And what I want to know, when you got that yes, um, did you have some kind of fear of success, or like, did you deal with something like that?
Well, honestly, during the time of like preparing my book to be published, I also online met Brian McGill, who became my first mentor. And he was a New York Times and Wall Street Journal USA Today bestselling author. So he was teaching us about personal brand and about rejections and all of that. And what I learned from him and implemented very deeply in my core is that we are all divinely guided. that we are all protected and that rejection is just a divine redirection. So every no was just, a step left or right to the point where I need to be. And this is how we can actually process these feelings. Because before that learning, I can say I would be probably completely destroyed. Like, I would lose self confidence. I would start thinking, am I enough? Why is no one reacting? But he somehow put that seed in me to believe that actually no is just no, not this time, and no, not in that direction, but in this one. So we just continued sending that until someone actually said yes. And then that was a magical moment for me. I was a mother just for a few months. And I remember sitting in my living room and crying, seeing my book #1 in 8 Amazon categories, which was like, what just happened? Uh, but I want to share that there was a lot of work behind it. Uh, just we somehow sometimes need to allow it to find its own way, and that's it.
I had a similar story. I had one investor for Coffee Talk, and we had agreed on everything. But the day before signing the contract, he just pulled out. He said sorry, but no. And then after that, like I had a lot of expenses. I started building the platform on my own, like paying for that, because I'm not a developer. And then I realized that I was pregnant and it was a risky pregnancy. So many things happened, like a chain of bad events. I mean, bad, of course, my pregnancy was beautiful, but at that moment, the timing wasn't the best. And now, when I'm thinking about it, I'm so happy that he turned me down. I still do have problems, some problems that I haven't figured out completely, but I would never choose that option now. And precisely what you said, something like that divine maybe has some better plans and better choices for us that we are not even aware.
Exactly. You see?
And tell me, what can our listeners learn about creating opportunities instead of waiting for them? I think that this is definitely your story.
Absolutely. I'm not waiting for anything. Some things happen, if I may say, as a coincidence, but that's not a coincidence. That's just the energy of creation in alignment with what I'm trying to create. Uh, I am always creating opportunities. As I mentioned, the A list. That's the most important strategy we can do for ourselves, because 5 people we surround ourselves with will determine who we are, right? And we need just one person who can change the complete trajectory of my life or of our life. Because my book wouldn't become a bestseller if Brian didn't come into story, because he promoted it. On my own, I couldn't do anything. But when he asked for help in his Facebook group, and back then I was just starting out and I was afraid of everything. I was afraid of speaking English. And I will share an anecdote what he told me about that. He asked for help and no one reached out. And I said, I will help you. And I was administrating his Facebook group for maybe even a year, not expecting absolutely anything. And because of that, he granted me a scholarship for his thought leadership school. So I would say the more we give and give without any expectations, the more we will get in return, but not from the sources we gave, but from completely different sources. So that's one way to create an opportunity. Just be present and give the most of you, whatever you can. And the second is really strategic approach. And for that, I use LinkedIn. They actually call me LinkedIn Wonder Woman, which is kind of funny, but cool. Because 4 out of 5 people on LinkedIn are decision makers. And those are people who can change our lives, right? So we need to research and to know who are these people. Because if someone put us on a stage in front of 10,000 people and we have a conversion which is just 2%. We got the investment we were asking from investor, and we are not giving away a part of our company, correct? So the quality and persistence in this is the main role. And then when you have established your brand, when you have the quality, just one email can practically change everything. So for me, now it's simple. But looking back 10 years ago, because I started in February 2015, it was honestly very, very complicated. And then I recorded the first video in English. I was recording them 12 times. I was afraid to publish that in a closed Facebook group where everyone is supportive. And I did. And that's when Brand reached out. And I said, I'm afraid of speaking English. And he said, this is the anecdote. You sound like Russian mafia. And if you say that we all go to the toilet to make coffee, we'll simply do that.
Yeah, your Siko accent can be actually terrifying and give some authority too. Mm.
Exactly.
Yeah, and tell me more about that fear. Many of our students are afraid to speak. They have huge expectations. They expect themselves to speak like natives. So how did you deal with that, and how is your English so fluent now?
Well, the fluency came from actually using it every single day. But back then, I was frozen. Like, I was so afraid. I had my first interview with one wonderful lady from Canada, and she was so nice and gentle and all that. But I was like, how is my background looking? How am I looking? Am I speaking well? It was like a roller coaster, complete roller coaster. Until one of my clients actually told me, I don't know why you guys are afraid to speak foreign English. That means that you know at least one more. And we really appreciate you trying to use our language to be able to help us. And I was like, what? And she said, it is our responsibility to share what we know because someone out there might need our help. And if we don't show up, then someone else will take them on and they will not care enough as we do. And I was like, what? So these are two very huge shifts actually in the mindset. So everything is about our limiting beliefs. We are stopping ourselves from being the best version of ourselves. For example, I'm launching now my book in Serbian and in my academia in Serbian. And I know I will be great in speaking about that. But every time I think about creating a new course in English, I still feel a little bit frozen, although I went through everything. So I would say the fear is not our enemy. It's actually showing us that we care about what we do. If we don't care, it simply wouldn't feel anything, right? But if we care, we'll feel fear. And fear is just a mechanism of our brain to keep us where it's safe, while the best things and the success are waiting us like when we step out of that comfort zone and give ourselves permission to actually be the best version of ourselves. Okay, we can do that in our native language, but is it really possible to reach so many people as we can do in English? Absolutely not. So just one single thing is like stopping us from really building not a company but a movement, and that's knowing how to speak English. Like, come on. This is the number one thing we all need to know. Simply go there and be yourself, and people will feel the energy. Like my TEDx talk was number 3 on New York stage. Like, I'm not speaking native English, but it's important we understand each other, and that's like perfectly fine.
The most important thing is to understand each other, that your message is there where it belongs, like the right people should hear it. And English, no matter like perfect accent, perfect grammar, vocabulary, or a simple language with your message being understood. Like that's the point of languages. And I love what you said about natives. Yeah, imagine them trying to communicate in our native language. What would it be like? How it would look like. Final question for today. If you could give one piece of advice to your younger self, just starting over, what would that be?
Well, I always say, kiddo, you did great. The great future is waiting for you. So please don't be so shy as you were. Just go in the world and be who you truly are. And people who need to hear you will hear you, and people who are meant to love you would love you, and who don't just doesn't matter. Really.
Catherine, thank you so much for this business coffee talk. Ladies, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed as much as I did. Don't be shy, as Catherine said. Check out our Instagram page, Her Business Coffee Talk, and see how we can help you to grow your business and boost your English speaking skills. Until the next episode, let's coffee talk.